We're live, Pitchdeckasia, Graham Brown here in the Singapore studio, joined by Fateh Ali. Fateh, welcome.
Thanks, Graham. It's my pleasure being here. I've been watching your shows for the last 1 year, I believe, and a lot of values I've taken. So glad to be here.
Well, now you're in it.
Yeah,
How about that?
Kind of excited.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you've learned something from seeing all those pitches and
Absolutely.
like great ones, not so great ones.
Right.
So,
right.
you know,
a lot of takeaways. I think every episode had some kind of takeaways, which definitely it's in my diary written somewhere. You know, it just builds up as an entrepreneur.
Great. Well, hopefully there's some takeaways from your story today.
I hope so.
And hopefully people watching it might be inspired or might want to reach out. So let's start at the beginning. We have your pitch deck. We're going to go there in a minute. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about you, Fateh. I mean, you just educated me on what the meaning of that name means. So what does it mean, Fateh?
CollabDeen as
not the company, your name.
Oh, right.
Your name. Let's start there. That's the beginning.
Right.
That's the origin.
Absolutely. My name is Fateh Ali, originally from Bangalore. Fateh stands for victory. And since my childhood, I've tasted victory at various levels, though I have like hundreds of failed things in my life. At the end, I was happy enough to taste that victory. So
yeah,
that's background for my name.
Great. Excellent. Well, it's a good starting point. I think any investor or partner wants to know that you're a winner in different aspects and doing it in different ways as well. CollabDeen, that's the product. Collabu Technology is the company as well. So we will talk about what it's about. But before we get there and into the pitch deck, let's start by your journey. So you're from Bangalore originally, which is the tech hub of India. You left there 10 years ago?
Yeah,
is that about right?
About a decade now.
And you came to Singapore directly from Bangalore?
Right. So, yeah.
How did that happen?
It all started when I'll give you a little backstory so we can connect the dots. I worked for Fidelity Investments for 3 years, and while I was doing that, I was looking to be into the technology. My background is technology. Though I work for the banking and investment banks, in parallel, in my side hustle, I started, building apps, websites in my early journey. So I spent about 3 years with Fidelity Investments, and then I was thinking, is this a good time to get good experience and then do something of my own? That is when I got an opportunity from JP Morgan Singapore, and I said, hey, wow, let me park my ideas, my dreams aside for a while. Let me come out to Singapore, look at what's happening in the world at a global stage. One of the best company, JP Morgan, one of the best countries to be here, part of, and one of the best teams I was part of with JP Morgan. I got into a virtual application services team, one of the early Microsoft virtualization platforms that I worked on. I think that's when my Singapore journey started. And while I was still doing this, if I just backtrack, I've got about 13 years of my corporate experience. I kind of moved away from my corporate life. It's been kind of 1.5 years, and I've got about 14 years of my part-time hustling journeys. Did multiple startups, all part-time, created...
part-time whilst you were working in the corporates?
Yeah, kind of behind the scenes.
Okay.
So
the weekend
I did
startup.
A weekend startup, so weekend, and I was more passionate on doing something on the side. 9 to 6, I was an employee. After 6 p.m. onwards, creating apps, creating websites for people. When I started my journey, I couldn't sell anything, right? So that's when I started giving things for free for people. I remember my first website I did. I coded something. He said, I don't need it. I said, how about if I give it for free? That's when I started my journey on, building something, doing something on my own. 2011 onwards, I started my something on e-commerce. Though I started building up apps and websites, I said, hey, let's understand what's e-commerce all about. It's a big boom. And I was trying to look for products and ideas. That's when I got married in 2011. So I kind of took a break from everything for a year. And that was the time I was like revamping, re-understanding the whole world, what I can actually do. That's when I got an opportunity, an idea to actually start focusing into a new market. For me, something that was really new. called Global Islamic Economy. This is the first time in 2011 I understood, hey, what's this? And if you know, global Islamic economy is a $3.6 trillion market, as big as the UK's economy or as big as even India's economy. It's a huge potential. I thought, hey, since I'm actually trying to do something on e-com, let me see if I can create some products for this economy. And cutting short the story, I came up with an idea, brilliant a hardware product with a smart product for this Islamic economy. Sitting in Singapore, created a product in China, went there a couple of times.
What was this product?
Created a smart azan clock. It's a...
educate me what that would be.
Right. So if you know, there's a daily call of prayer.
Right. So I imagine it's prayer times, yeah.
Yeah, it's prayer time, but it was beyond that. So there were a lot of products available in the market, which only talks about the prayer time. I invented, got patents on them, invented this product that had many more things that to do. And a lot of things was controlled over hardware and software, a combination of mix of both things. I'll not go into details, but this product was created by me, invented probably in China, manufactured and sold across the globe. So that's when I actually jumped onto Shopify. Shopify was my platform which I use for the e-commerce. And
were you doing this all on the side?
All on the side. Okay. All on the side. So I think that's when I started getting into this economy. Created 3-4 more different brands and products. How easy it is to set up Shopify websites and a store. That gives a different taste of trying out new things. It's seamless. Get started in very short span of time. Build something. Create products. So I did all the journey and started looking at Shopify as my inspiration of building something. Though that's from a technology point of view, not from an e-commerce point of view. While I was doing this on the ground in Singapore, back in India, I was connected with a lot of communities, serving communities, let it be faith-based communities, the Muslim societies and communities here in Singapore. I went to churches, I went to blood donation camps, different kind of communities. That gives me a lot of satisfaction to be part of the human race. So that is something I always truly enjoyed from very get-go from my childhood. So these are the experiences that brought me to think something. When I started seeing, a community, a Christian community center, they're like far ahead in terms of how the community works. And when I started comparing with other faith-based communities, I started feeling, I coming from a Muslim background, I started seeing these Muslim communities are doing a lot of activities, but they are not actually connected well. And, understanding what's the background and trying to deep dive into understanding the concepts, the ideas. It all boiled down to, the communication and collaboration is not happening in sync in the space. And to do this, I even built a small utility which would, communicate these community centers with a prime message on, just notifying on, say, for example, what Islamic date it is today, right? I created a small utility to test out saying, if I create this, the whole 365 days of the next calendar year in the Islamic event, there'll be a different kind of notifications that's getting created, within the calendar. So this was a little background. And there's a very interesting story. I created this, send an email broadcast to about, I think, close to 5,000 to 6,000 people. And, I said, okay, it's not working. People may not be using it. I just kept this aside. I didn't realize until next year when people started replying to those emails 1 year ago saying, hey, this has stopped working. And there was hundreds of emails in first week of 1 year after the end, because that utility I created was only synced for a calendar for one calendar year.
I see. Expired.
And then it expired, and then people started rushing, asking, messaging, That's when I realized, okay, people are actually using this thing.
Yeah.
And that's when, I started seeing how I can actually, with all my experiences, part-time experiences put together, trying to drive something, trying to drive the community together with my technology experiences, building apps and websites for them, I said, hey, how about creating a mobile app for one community? Started with that small idea. And, technologically, I was still relying on my people back in India because of my limited resource, limited time. We created a small app which could just serve one community center. And then, we started seeing there's a good potential. We can replicate this to different communities. We went to about 10 different countries randomly. About 7 countries and 10 different apps that were created, independent standalone apps. Everyone enjoyed it because this is something that they were lacking, getting to know what kind of events are upcoming, what's happening in that community, kind of push notifications. So that was a gap that I saw we tried to fulfill. But, things did not take into big shape, big idea, because technologically this is not a good solution. While doing a lot of global exposure, when I did e-commerce, I understood the mindset of Muslims, the spending power of these Muslims, these millennials. If there's a term that's been given by, I'm not sure by whom, but from the West media, a term given called gummies. These are gummies stands for Global Urban Muslim Millennials.
Okay.
And there's also a new term that's coming out across called mummies. Right. So this is Muslim urban professionals, right? Mm-hmm. So these kind of new terminologies, because if Muslims has the youngest population on earth, which is an average of 24 is the age, average age. These are different class of people, like any millennials, think differently, do things differently. They are quite equipped with technology. They want some solution which is more as comparable to the Western world, right?
Yeah.
So there are huge technological gaps that I started seeing, and then cutting short, I found a good partner in my friend with his enterprise level solution architect experiences where he could build cloud-based solutions. We said, hey, let's build a cloud-based, SaaS-based collaboration platform where any communities around the world, a Muslim Islamic community or a masjid, the mosque, can actually create a community platform, start collaborating with their people within that space. So this idea about 2.5 years ago took shape into something very big now. I can talk more.
Yeah, sure. That's a good opener. Okay, so we'll look at you've talked about the market. Maybe we can talk about the total addressable market. We have some slides from your pitch deck, which we'll bounce in and out of. We can talk about the market, what the problem is. You've sort of alluded a little bit to it as well, and then the solution, and then where you go from here as well. So the market itself, I mean, I know you've mentioned, for example, some of these emerging consumer groups, like you talk about the millennials, for example,
yep.
The Muslim millennials. I'm going to go to the end of your pitch deck here. I think it's like towards the end. You've got the market here. 2 billion Muslims in the world. Is that about
right?
Yeah.
There are about 2 billion Muslims walking on this planet.
Okay. So it's a sizable market. There's no denying it. That's like 1/4 or like 30% of the world population. Okay. So the market economy globally is 3.6 trillion, which you said is larger than India, larger than the UK. And in London alone, 13,000 up Muslim-owned businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that's just London.
Right.
And we haven't factored in all the other cities
Absolutely.
as well. So the market opportunity is huge. On top of that, you have, I suppose, a growing consciousness about the fact that this is a market. I mean, there's no doubt that people have known they're Muslim for centuries, but now that as a consumer market, that maybe they have different needs, different ways of addressing those needs and so on. So that's emerging. That's sort of a new thing as well, especially in this space.
Right.
Talking about a SaaS platform
Absolutely.
for those consumers. So all of that's on the table. Let's talk about why we need this solution. What is the problem that we're looking at? We can just go back up on the pitch deck a little bit here.
Yep.
So we can just sort of frame the conversation today. On this slide here, if I can just sort of throw in I think I might have missed it, but
I think let's start with the problem.
Here. This is. So, by the way, some people can't see this. So, and this is just a very visual slide where you've got all the icons for social media. Explain to me what the problem is as somebody who doesn't understand.
Right. Let's put this into a context of one community center or Islamic center or a mosque. One random example I'll take and start giving this, a problem there. So let's take this random example of a Islamic center in Sydney with about 25,000 people connected to this community centers. 25,000 people on a daily basis come and go out. And these administrators sitting inside the community center do not know how they communicate the next bit of information to them. The gap is these people come on a regular basis, but they're all segregated on different platforms, different tools, and there's no connectivity between the community and the people. The mosque administrator and the people are not really connected. When I say that, few people have WhatsApp groups to disseminate. Just take an example. Next week, there is a youth event in a community center. How do they communicate? They go out on Google Docs or Google Forms, create a kind of event, or they use Eventbrite. There are two different tool options, right? Just kind of high level. They use these tools across the world. Then what do they do once they create this, say, Eventbrite link? Next is they take this link, go on WhatsApp, start circulating to one group, and they hope that this group will also disseminate the information to the next group of people. And they also go places like New Zealand still use Viber. Can you believe that? Places, they still use the Facebook groups, Facebook pages, and different social media platforms. Out of this survey that we did, 25,000 of the community size, and they only have about 5,000 email addresses. And we all know, being in the space, how many people open that emails regularly. If you look at the rates from MailChimp's, number of emails open, and let alone think of how many people open these emails on a timely basis. Say there is a demise in a community this evening, and they have to really broadcast this message. And a lot of instances, example that I have come across in my journey and people's journey, people got to know the message only later, or they rely on people to communicate. So there is no central place for these community administrator to actually relay a message to the whole community member. And there is no tool or technology for all these members to come on one platform, because nobody has told them to be on WhatsApp. Nobody's told them to be on Facebook. So there's nobody who's dictated, come on this platform, this is my official platform to announce. Nobody's told that.
What is that? Is that just a lack of understanding or lack of willing? Is that the people who own the community centres and run them, are they, I wish you had told me that, or are they resistant to change?
Kind of. Let's take an example of Facebook. A lot of community centres are there putting information, but a lot of users are not very comfortable mixing their social life into that religious life. They don't want to go and like for an event, or they don't want to go and say RSVP to an event on social media, because they have that whole social elements around. They don't want maybe their bosses to know, maybe their family, neighbors, because we all living harmoniously, but people don't want to put up, especially with things like Islamophobia that's coming in. People want to be staying away from being social on these religious aspects. So that's one example. There are various reasons behind it. So technically what we are trying to solve here is we are trying to be technologically equipped with one of the fastest and greatest technologies, bringing a cloud-based, SaaS-based platform on demand where any communities can create one space for them and bring people together on one platform for collaborating. There are many tools which they can alternately think of going, things like Facebook or WhatsApp, but it's all a communication method, but not a collaboration platform. So what we are building has different levels and layers of collaboration. Also for this market, nicely fixed for their own purpose, because there's no tools that caters to this Muslim audience.
Right.
And that is what we are building.
Let me understand and excuse my ignorance, is when you say catering for a Muslim audience, is there a right way of doing that? I understand obviously they have certain needs and they have certain guidelines and so on, but like in using technology, is there such a thing? Like again, I might be naive in saying this, but like a halal way of using that, does that exist where you would like, you know, even using a platform or social media or technology itself? Surely that's neutral. Help me understand. Would that?
Right.
You know, so I'm completely ignorant, so please educate me.
Right. So primarily, it's not a reason that this is kind of halal platform. You're not saying that, you know, every platform is good and has different purposes. So this platform is built for a purpose. Say, for example, what I've just told was like on the communication aspect. Now, let's talk about things like a couple of good examples I have. Let's talk about the fundraising donations, you know, bringing that's the biggest, objective of each community center or mosque, to raise funds, because these NGOs do not have a business to sustain. They rely on funds. And in this own example of 25,000 people, they contribute on a regular basis religiously. That's their religious duty to actually contribute funds to this community called the sadaqah, or different kind of various ways of methods of, you know, providing donations. And there are hundreds of projects. You know, there might be projects like fundraising projects within the communities. That could be say mosque renovation or carpet changing ceremony, or probably they want to change lights, or there could be somebody in a community center who's getting married who might not have that sufficient funds. Probably community comes together to do this contribution. So again, if we do not have this platform as one, you know, again, they have to rely on different platforms. Those things. What we are trying to do is trying to bring integrations of all kind of facilities and needs together on one platform. In short, we are creating a workplace for communities. That's our biggest direction at this moment, which is more of a private communities. So we're building private communities on CollabDeen platform.
Does it replace all those technologies you talked about? Does it integrate with them, or would it be like a unified platform? Would it still sync with WhatsApp, or would it replace that?
It's our own platform. We are building up ground up. When I say that, though it has social interactions with other platforms, but everything that we are building up is from the ground. So we have all the capabilities of molding up things, bringing up best of technology as we move on. Things like augmented reality has been incorporated. Say, for example, I can show you up if you want.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well it will come out on the.
Yeah, but I'll just give you a gist of it.
Yeah.
Right? So, say, for example,
if you can hold up to the screen here.
Yeah, I'll come closer when I actually bring that on. So this is a platform, you know. I'll directly straight away jump to the augmented reality stuff that I was talking about. So we have built the world's first augmented reality Qibla finder. So this is a place where people go and pray. Not sure.
Can you just show? Yeah, there you go. I mean, you can capture that. So basically, that would be praying towards Mecca.
Yes, this is the direction that they have to pray.
Yeah, and normally in a hotel, Mecca. You'd have that little triangle, that thing.
Exactly. So what happens is technologically, a lot of people still rely on the, say, compass, put the phone on the table and try to, you know, get the right direction. But getting things augmented, again, these gummies or mummies that I was talking about, the urban millennials, they'll be happy using these kind of solutions. While this is the base that we have built up, now we are creating an engine, augmented reality engine. Just imagine, you see the Qibla Kaaba pointer here, right? Just imagine if you just swipe left. This is what we are building now. Swipe left and you see all the events happening around you. Swipe left again, you see all the mosque and community centers in an augmented way. And then swipe left again, you see all the musalla praying places in Singapore or wherever you are in your particular geography. So this is the one-touch solution that we are trying to build.
Right.
You know, everything that we do on this platform is actually trying to come in an augmented way, trying to fulfill the needs in one touch.
So most of it is based around. Is it based around augmented reality in the platform? Is just one tool within it?
Yeah, that is one interface of talking with data, right? You have a map view to find nearby communities. You have also filled different kind of search and filters that you can actually look at, say, find Sultan Mosque on this platform. You can go connect, collaborate, connect and invite people to, you know, bring it up on this platform. So there are different ways, but augmented reality is one very useful, jumping on the chair kind of moment for people.
Yeah, and you certainly want to share it with people, right? And show people, look what you can do.
Exactly.
I don't understand the challenges it must be in sort of trying to deal with these things, like not having the technology to your hand. How would it be not having that? For example, like you talk about praying spots.
Mm-hmm.
Are these designated spots? I mean, how does that work? I don't understand. So you got to treat me as if like I don't have any information. A little bit of information might be like, a little bit of dangerous knowledge, but just tell me as if I don't know anything. Are these sort of these sanctioned spots? Are they, do I have to find them when I pray? How would I do that without a phone? What is the normal way of doing that, especially if I'm in a new city and I'm traveling?
Say, for example, let's imagine we are in the space, platform e-space, right? Now, if I want to find out if there's time to pray as a Muslim, if somebody wants to go out and pray, you'll not really go to a mosque. You will just find a place where you can pray. So there's a concept and a place called musalla, right? And if you just, for example, go to a website called musalla.com.sg, I think there are about more than 20,000 marks on the map that'll show nearby places to go and pray. It could be somewhere near staircase, it could be a place, or it could be somebody who invites inside to your premise and say, okay, this is a corner for you to pray. So there are already a lot of locations. What we are trying to do is, these locations have been created from years to years together. And what we are trying to do is, on our platform, everything is community driven. Now, somebody downloads CollabDeen app today and see, you have an option to create musalla. You create your own space. Say tomorrow you decide, let's open up a corner for somebody to come and pray. You just click a picture, you put a location and say, this is the place. When somebody searches in an augmented way, this spot will be shown. So it's a community-driven data at a global level.
Very interesting. Yeah. How do you make money out of that? Where's the revenue model?
Right. So the multiple revenue models. So what I've spoken all this while was one perspective, one angle. So I was talking about faith, talking about community centers, mosques, their challenges, how people are trying to engage with those community centers. Now, on the other side, when I introduce saying there's a global Islamic economy, $3.6 trillion, and then eventually growing at a fast pace. What's happening there is a huge Islamic economy that has about 8 pillars, from modest fashion to Islamic fintech. It could be, halal travel spaces, everything inside, anything under the sun has this halal way of living, brings up businesses, brands together. It could be modest fashion or anything in this space. Eateries, for example, halal eating spaces. So all this encompasses the economy. There are many more to it. This is just a flavor of it. What we are doing is, while we give technology to mosque and community centers and bring people together on the platform, now, apart from just receiving feeds and information from that particular center, I might connect to Community 1, Community 2, and Community 3 and 4 in Bangalore, Community 5 in Malaysia or in US. As from the faith perspective, there are different communities I can connect. What else I can do in this platform? What we are trying to do is we are marrying faith with lifestyle on one single platform. What I mean by that is, while you can create a community as a faith-based communities for mosque and Islamic centers, you can create community as a business, community as a brand, community as an influencer. So there are different types of communities you create. So just for everyone to understand, communities for CollabDeen is pages for Facebook, right? Just to kind of level set. But it has a lot of different things to do. I don't want to, do a kind of side-by-side comparison, but, just to understand at high level. So now you have business brands who are actually looking to tap this $3.6 trillion economy, right? They're trying to, reach out to the audience. Where are the audience sitting on this platform? So we are actually trying to give values, services, rewards, points that they can actually exchange between them. So there's everyone. Basically, primarily, we are creating an ecosystem for marrying faith and lifestyle together.
You said something interesting, and I just want to dig a little bit because I'm curious as to what shape and form it takes. Is Muslim influencers. Is that a thing now?
It's a big thing, yeah.
Right. Okay.
True.
So just tell us, I mean, how does it work? Does it work in the same way that Instagram influencers operate? You know, they take endorsements, or
it does. It's similarly. There's nothing different, but I feel the only aspects, again, it depends on influence to influencers, businesses to businesses. But again, at a high level, it works just like traditional influencers, how it works. But adding on to that, there are different religious barriers that people can actually enclose and enwrap with. So kind of, I would say it's a gift wrap things, which is more Islamically ethical to do. So I think a lot of influencers who are trying to be in this space, there are a lot of women that getting empowered being an influencer on this places. For example, Zara collection, one of the biggest brand who are creating hijabs, they reach out to these influencers. You have, say, I know people in Indonesia and Malaysia, millions of followers. You know, there are huge brands and businesses trying to reach out to them and say, hey, next time when you do your video, you know, let's promote this next one of our, say, stole or modest fashion element. That's the direction it's heading at. So not just from, selling point of view, what our platform would also give is, we are trying to add values in terms of reviews and ratings, community driven, just like Uber concept. You rate the driver and driver rates you. And that is why this platform can actually sustain progressively, positively in a more privacy and secured way. Our intent is to be, positively impacting the whole humanity. Yeah. So we want to make sure how positively things can be done on this platform, making sure using our best of technologies with AIs. We want to make sure things like anything against Islam or anything Islamophobia or anything against the government or people, we want to trim down those things, cut off those things, not be talked. I being the LinkedIn local ambassador for Singapore, I see the best of qualities that's coming on LinkedIn, right? How communities are working together. The LinkedIn community is beautiful community across the world. I want to bring those kind of values onto this platform. So the positivity onto this platform. When you have these influences being rated from 0 to 5, people can actually rely and depend on them on a various ways. It could be a normal brand promoter influencer, or it could also be, say, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, who is one of the religious influencer. It could be anybody.
So there would be rating religious influencers as well?
By community members, right? And anybody can actually rate people, rate these influencers. So this is a new concept again. And we want to try out. We have the best of technologies. We have the best of people trying to be agile, lean, try to get out and experiment. And we have been experimenting last 1.5 years from the first line of code was written last year and end of January. Until now, I'm very happy what we have built. From just sparking this discussion and giving you a little prelude. Yeah, I went to Bangalore, started to discuss a newly formed team, started to discuss, what are we doing with CollabDeen, right? It took me about almost 1 hour to put my thoughts together on a whiteboard. I had no clue. I had everything in my mind. I and my co-founder, Mohammed, who's right now in the US, we have brainstormed, we have done things, but practically in what shape? We haven't put this into a shape. For me to give this to the designer to, take this as a base shape, and then this is what we need. From that time until now, it's been 1.5 years. At the end of 1 year, we were in a very good shape. We went out, experimented with beta communities in Singapore and across the world. We've got huge, tremendous response, all from the faith side. But as we started moving, we improvised our product. Recently, in the month of Ramadan, a couple of months earlier, it's been like kind of 60 days we have launched. In 60 days when we actually did this global public beta, we have got about 200 plus communities signed up organically with a $0 marketing cost. And we've got responses from 27 countries. So today, when you look at the global map view of number of communities created across, it's all across the world. That says the interest. So right now, what we are doing is we've got good traction. And like any other startup, we had huge challenges technologically. ups and downs. We had a couple of failures, I would say. Happy to accept that, we fail in our marketing strategy early on, also because of some technical challenges, but we have learned, we have evolved. And in last, say, 2 months, we have really revamped ourselves and now looking at a bigger space to get into.
Great, excellent. I mean, it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's never going to be easy,
yeah.
Especially coming out of corporate life. You knew you were signing up for this when you were staring out the window, thinking about your side hustle in the early days. You sign up 200 communities, more or less.
Yep.
Are you making money at the moment? Are you monetizing those communities or bringing in the merchant side as well?
We've got merchants. We've not just from the Islamic economy. If you know, brands and businesses like Hula in Singapore, they're trying to get into global Islamic economy. We're trying to partner with these kind of players who are trying to, add value to this global Islamic economy. So, coming back to your questions, we have signed up faith-based communities, businesses, brands, and influencers. It's a mix of everyone. So, there's another question that you asked me. I have to answer back probably on the revenue models. I'll come back to that. But we've got these communities from all different various backgrounds. Coming to the revenue model and the question that you just asked, we are not monetizing at this stage for very good reasons. We want to go out and disrupt the whole world. We want to really we want to fulfill the whole map with our CollabDeen markers. Instead, 200 communities, we want to see grow organically to 2,000, 20,000 and beyond. That's our primary agenda. So for that, we are technologically reshaping our product for virality stuff, for sharing concepts. We're trying to take that in shape, and we came up with this strong strategic decision after discussing with our early pre-seed investors, saying we want to go out freemium and a premium version, like any other SaaS model, right? This gives us liberty to go out and disrupt. We have a huge potential. There is literally, I would say, no competition. It's unfair to say no competition. There are players who tried this on web-based portal, trying to provide values this way, but not at scale that we are building on cloud-based. So we know that we are in a very good timing in terms of where we are, what's the need of this particular economy and the faith-based system. We want to make sure we go out and capture the whole market, take the first movers advantage as well.
Yeah. Are you raising funds at the moment?
We raised $500K USD about 1.5 years ago when I just quit JP Morgan. That gave me confidence to move out and do things at a larger scale. Now we are raising funds as a seed round.
Yeah.
And we're looking for $1+ million investment, and which is going to take us to a journey to capture more and more communities, businesses, and geographies.
Okay. All based here in Singapore. Do you have a particular requirement? Obviously, somebody who understands the community and of that community. Angel investors, institutional investors, what are you finding? Where are you looking at the moment for your seed round?
Looking at how this market works, I think big players like Taqwa Tech has got signed up with Gobi Partners. If you know these big players coming from China, they're looking to invest in this global Islamic economy because everyone has started seeing a lot of potential here. But being in this ecosystem and trying to learn from the best of people I have around in terms of this economy, this market is still kind of immature because nobody has actually proved to a global stage. A lot of people, businesses worked from micro level. They've started growing, trying to go out global, but you don't have very big names that can, anybody can name it. If I ask, what's this one Muslim technology startup you can talk about? Literally none. So there are no big players. So that is one downside of this economy for us to move forward. But, we're putting our best of efforts to showcase what we can do and prove into this market. And there are people who are willing to support and invest. So VCs, angel investors, we are open for all options. Primarily, we are looking for strategic partners across the world, not just Singapore, to really add value at a global level, because this product is actually already at global level. We want to make sure it gives that real boost if we have geographically split strategic partners.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And are you hiring at the moment?
Yeah. At the moment, since we just did launch, we are trying to strengthen our sales and marketing.
Right. So you need sales and marketing people?
Yeah.
What kind of backgrounds will they have had? I mean, obviously some kind of people-facing experience would be good, but would they have to have been selling SaaS products, or where do you want to recruit these people from?
The sales tech combination team is what we are looking from the sales, because they need to have technologically well-equipped strengths. Also, somebody who can understand the global Islamic economy, and that's a primary criteria. For marketing, definitely people who have already drilled down into global Islamic economy can actually, reach out to me. I'm quite socially active, and we need people who can strengthen us from a marketing side at a global level. So you need to have experience dealing with these Muslim millennials, basically.
Yeah, and where would you want to recruit from, like geographically? Singapore?
Yeah, I think we are open for options, but primarily it's a very positive thing if we do it in Singapore to begin with, because it's the core team, I would say, that will be established at this stage.
Yeah, so if somebody is interested and they want to be part of this journey and help you build this platform, obviously LinkedIn is the way to approach you, right? That would be the best way to reach out.
Absolutely. LinkedIn, I'm quite socially active with the name Fateh Ali.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, Facebook, or you can get onto CollabDeen's job sections and post it across.
It'd be great if somebody's actually actively using this platform and then to say to you, hey, look, I've been using this, I love it, I want to be part of this. That's a good sort of validation,
Absolutely.
isn't it? That they've been through a number of hoops to get to that stage.
True.
Or if they are interested, then go and use it. And then, spend some time exploring it and understanding it a bit better, and then approach you, right?
Absolutely. There are a lot of people doing it at a global level on a very regular basis. We're getting feedbacks on our platform, all from even people who are developers around the world. They see technologically well-balanced platform. Recently, I was traveling to San Francisco a couple of weeks ago. I randomly bumped into somebody who was connected to me on LinkedIn just because he felt this is one of the best UIs I've seen in this market. Traditionally, a lot of Muslim apps has a different kind of interface. Also, if you look at the branding and the culture that you're trying to incorporate is more of a corporate level, corporate style professional, unlike the green shades of any Muslim app. So you're trying to stand out from that, trying to give more values, trying to prove to the market, to the people, saying that we are here for a change.
Great. Well, Fateh Ali, thank you so much for sharing
My pleasure.
Your vision with us today. And put the call out there. Anybody that's interested in being part of this, then we know where to find you.
Absolutely.
Reach out. And I think as well, an important part of this is to make sure that they've done the work when they start talking to you, that they've got something, time, emotion invested into what you're doing already, whether they've gone in and used the product, whether they come from a background where they spent time looking into the market, and not just to say, hey, I have experience, but maybe they have some insights as well.
Right.
I spent 5 years working in the global Islamic economy here and working on X, for example, and that's what I want to share. You want those people because they can bring something, because you want lots of energy and ideas to grow this, right?
Absolutely. So on one side, we are trying to get the best of people in this space. Technologically, one of the best people we want to be part of, because technologically we want to take that leap. On the other side, we want to really call out those community builders, influencers, innovators, government, policy makers to be part of this big journey, because we are here for the positive change, and we'll definitely together impact the whole world. Excellent.
Hi, Graham Brown from Pitchdeckasia. Pitchdeckasia, powered by Pitch Media Asia. Pitchdeckasia is all about giving startup founders a voice. We are a show to help startup founders share their journey. So if you enjoy these stories, then why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? There's the subscribe button over there. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on the journey. Leave a comment. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.